As you start the game, you will find yourself spawned in a rather desolate location, with nothing around other than a four-way road in a house similar to the one from the Garfield show. It really reminds me of like those really flat farmlands you'd see when you travel. The player can find Garfield waiting for them at the front door, who tells them that he's lost his keys and he wants you to go find them for him. Now, to be honest, if I was in the middle of some farmland that stretched for miles and I'm trying to seek some sort of civilization or what have you, and the first thing the owner says to me when I'm trying to seek assistance is, "Hey, come help me find my keys," I don't know if I would trust that man. Now, as we search around, you will find that there is no sign of the said keys that Garfield is mentioning. However, if you do approach the doghouse, something is immediately off about it. Okay, thanks. Seeing that there is no really other option, I decide to go over and use the remote on the garage. We get to see a small glimpse of what looks to be John, which, if you don't know, is Garfield's owner. While that all unfolded, however, you will notice that John seems to throw some sort of disc, or whatever it was, at a nearby tree. On this CD disc, you will find that it has the words "Play Me" written in red, which, well, I guess that means it's important. Oh yeah, remember the key we were told to find? Well, if you were to go back to where Garfield was originally sitting, the key's right there. So he was practically sitting on it the entire time. Now that I know that information, my trust in Garfield, or well, whoever this orange cat is, has been reduced. Okay, so I've come to the conclusion that Garfield has formerly kidnapped me. Great. Upon covering the second sigil located, Garfield then tells you that his master has taken something of his and has hidden it away in a nearby safe. While searching around the area for a potential code, the player can come across a set of keys hanging from the nearby wall. One of these keys goes to a nearby safe, or well, no, locker, which is conveniently sized for us to hide in, while the other key goes to a cage behind several crates. Inside this cage, there's a notepad with drawings surrounded by some crayons. Once you find the code and enter it into the safe, you will find a small statue of a cat before a loud alarm suddenly blares into your ears. Garfield then quickly tells the player to hide somewhere, as footsteps then begin to approach the basement. Alright, glad to know the upstairs is even worse. The upstairs is what I would like to call a complete change in scenery, especially to what we've seen outside. It's silent and rather dark. We see trash that is everywhere with the windows and doors leading to the outside block, as if someone was trying to keep something out. Upon searching around, you will eventually come across a light bulb that is located under the bed, which is used to help light up the bathroom, revealing the last sigil and a message that reads, "I am not the master." We now suddenly find ourselves putting lasagna right into the oven, and as we do so, Garfield then tells us that while waiting for it to cook, that we need to pick up all of the toys we left on the floor. There's a total of 10, and as we finish nearly collecting all the toys, we find that the relic is sitting on the kitchen countertop, and seeing that there's really no other toy to pick up, we simply just grab it and throw it inside along with the other toy. We go back out into the living room and hear what seems to be a bark outside, as Garfield then tells us that the dog has buried something in the yard, and wants us to go dig up whatever it was. Okay, well the key's gone now. Now besides the ominously pitch black void at the end of the hallway, we're now able to jump. Eventually, we are transported into what I would consider to be a dream-like sequence, or this weird little cloud place, I really don't know what to call this, collecting these coins as they make their way to the key, as if it's just all some sort of game. Once we collect the key, we're then sent right back into the end of the hallway, as if all of what just occurred really just wasn't even real. Now that we're able to finally access the garage, the player then grabs the shovel and makes their way over to the backyard. Once they reach it, they can find that Odie has dug 4 different holes. The first 2 seem to be normal so far, as we uncover a bone and a ball. The third one, however, raises some questions, as while it is a newspaper, the player can barely make out the words on one of the headers for the newspaper, which reads the following: "Police in search for missing child 2 months after family murdered." Moving on to the final hole, however, things will take a rather drastic turn. So, I guess this is reality. We now find ourselves playing as John, who seems to be under the influence or controlled by some outside entity or force. This force likely being what Garfield is, or, well, what's presenting themselves to be Garfield. They tell John to have a look around their new home, of which we find and collect various different items that are scattered around. As we take our time to look around and collect all the items available, John then proceeds to continue questioning Garfield further. However, this seems to only annoy him more. What the f? Okay, I guess we lost our tongue privileges. As John cleans himself up and gets dressed, Garfield then tells him to get right back into the car, and upon doing so, we're then taken to another house, and yeah, you can probably tell where this is gonna go now. We find ourselves locked within a small cage as we're fed pizza and a soda drink. We see John sitting nearby with his head down and try calling out to him, but really to no avail. We then kill some cockroaches trying to get to our food before consuming the food given to us, muttering the words, "So hungry," as we scarf down the pizza and soda. We then make a comment that the soda tasted funny. Our character then wakes up to find themselves in a long corridor of what appears to be this prison of some sort, with a brightly lit doorway at the end of it. As we reach this doorway and walk through it, we find ourselves on a set of stairs leading up into the sky. If we were to try turning around and going back, we can now find that the corridor behind us has just vanished, if the only way for us to go is, well, up. And as we walk up these stairs, we're greeted by these different symbols, and if you remember from earlier, they are the same sigils we saw on the walls that we had to spray paint over. We now find ourselves right back in the cage, this time with a TV being placed in front of us as it plays a Felix the Cat cartoon. Our screen then goes black before we now see John spraying bug repellent on a nearby locker. We try to call out to them yet again, but receive no response, as John then proceeds to break down crying. We're now presented with a hot dog, as the sound of banging can be heard somewhere upstairs. We're also now given the option on whether or not we want to eat said hot dog. Either choice doesn't matter because you'll just end up eating it anyways. After finishing your meal, you're then given a notepad with the question, "Did you see these symbols?" And again, either answer really doesn't seem to matter because we practically get the same outcome here. As our character now runs out, they find themselves within Garfield's world outside yet again, with Garfield already ready to greet them. He tells our character that we should play a game before asking if we've ever handled firepower before. After asking that question, a sudden burst of fire then emerges from the ground beside him. Alright, I'm gonna be honest here, I really hated this part. Not only because of the fact that I don't like mazes, but also because you can go through this maze and you encounter these lasagna creatures who, if they touch you twice, will send you all the way back to the beginning of the maze. Also, they just kept like jump scaring me out of nowhere. And that just, yeah, I hate it when that happens. Now, while you do traverse through this maze, you'll begin to hear what sounds to be like a phone ringing. And if the player follows the sounds, you'll eventually come across a phone, but interacting with it causes it to disappear, and nothing seems to really happen afterwards.